POTT Section A is representing a ventilation machine on the occasion of National Science Day. Now I'd like to introduce what is ventilation. A ventilator is a breathing machine which helps our lungs to work, but it cannot fix or treat any kind of health problems, but it can do the breathing work for you while you are being treated or recovering from any type of illness or health conditions. I would like to describe you briefly how does it work. A ventilator machine supplies oxygen to the patient in and out through a ventilator machine supplies oxygen to the patient. We can supply it through a fitted mask. Through a fitted mask, we can supply oxygen to the patient. But if the patient condition is more serious or it's more in a critical stage, then we can provide a breathing tube through which oxygen is supplied directly to the lungs of the patient. And ventilation machines is categorized in two ways, that is, one is invasive and another one is non-invasive. And the one which we are showing here is an invasive one. And we can receive ventilation support in many other ways, which includes face mask ventilation, mechanical ventilation, and tracheostomy ventilation. And the one we are representing here is a mechanical ventilation. The first mechanical ventilation was introduced in 1800s. Now I would like to explain you in which situation or at what time do we need the ventilation support. So when a patient or a person is having a respiratory failure, at that time they need the support of a ventilation, because during that time a person will not be able to breathe properly on its own. It will not be able to take in oxygen as well as expel carbon dioxide on its own. So during that situation, the patient needs to have a support from the outside through which we can supply the oxygen to the patient. So this situation might be a life-threatening situation as well. And the respiratory failure can happen due to many other reasons. Those include stroke, sudden cardiac arrest, sepsis, ARDS, lungs disease. So whenever this disease occurs, that time the need of ventilation is very necessary. And as well as during the surgery, when a patient is put in a general anesthesia, even at that time the patient is under the ventilation support, because sometimes whenever the patient is under the general anesthesia, the respiratory muscles are weakened, the patient will not be able to breathe on its own properly. So during that time, during the surgery procedures also, the ventilation support is needed to the patient. And after the surgery also, the patient may still be in a critical condition, and according to the conditions of the patient, the patient will be supported with a ventilator until and unless his breathing conditions will be stable. And ventilators are usually used in hospital settings, and it is also monitored and controlled by the doctor or the respiratory therapist, and according to the patient needs, they control the supply of oxygen. So I have described you briefly about what is ventilations and how does it work, but the structure of the ventilations, and you will get to know the more detail about it by my classmate, that is Prashant.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, like Mercy has told you about the brief structure of the ventilation, I'll go on the details. So, आप जैसे देख रहे हैं